Hey everyone, this is a quick review of the new TV series Legion, which has just started its run on Fox. The first episode, the pilot, came out a couple of days ago. We saw it here in the UK last night on Fox. And I just wanted to get my initial first impressions out. And obviously this is just my impressions of the pilot. I don't know what the rest of the series is going to be like, but this is just... Obviously, pilots are very important. You know what they say: you never get a second chance to make a first impression. So, pilots for TV series are very, very important. Also, this is the first live action, real life X-Men TV series. So up until now, there have been animated cartoon series. This is the first real life one, and it's supposed to connect with the Fox X-Men Marvel franchise. Somehow, they don't seem to have quite decided how it's going to happen down the line yet, but supposedly that's what it's going to be. So, okay, alright, so this first episode, I was confused. Now, I know Legion, the character, a little bit from the X-Men comics. I've been a huge X-Men comic fan for years, since I was a kid. So I know about the character a little bit, so I wasn't entirely sure how they were going to put it across on screen. It's going to be very difficult. Now, from the trailers I saw before the series started, I was thinking, this looks really confusing. It looks very out there. And I was hoping they were going to rein it in a little bit for the show to make it more appealing and more understandable for the audience, perhaps people who didn't know the character. However, unfortunately, what they seem to have done is actually gone the other extreme. They've actually made it more confusing, more outlandish. It reminded me, to a degree, of the 1960s British TV show called The Prisoner, starring Patrick McGoohan. Most of you probably have never heard of it. But if you ever do see it, or you know it, then you'll probably understand what I'm saying once you've watched Legion. It seems very much in the same vibe as The Prisoner, or it gave off the same vibe as The Prisoner. And also the graphics and the clothing that some of the characters wore were also very reminiscent of the 60s. Now, I don't know why that was. From what I understand, the creator of the series, Noah Hawley, wanted to make it different to show how the main character, David Haller, saw life, how Legion, David Haller, saw life in his eyes. So we would be looking at things through his eyes and understand his confusion. Now, I understand that, I get that. And as I said, it was going to be very difficult to bring Legion to life on the TV as a show, considering his powers and his schizophrenia. But I think he may have overdone it. I was halfway through watching the show last night, and I turned to my wife and said, I feel like I'm on drugs. I feel like I'm like zoned out on coke or heroin or something. I'm watching this show. That's how it made me feel watching it. Now, whether that's what he was going for, whether the creator of the series and the director were going for, they wanted to make people feel that way because that's what David Haller was going through, being on medication and that sort of thing. I don't know. But for me, at least, it made it hard to get into. Now, I seem to be in the minority because this has got a really, really high rating on Rotten Tomatoes at the moment, and critics are loving it. So I guess I'm in the minority here, but it made it really hard for me. Now, Legion's comic book backstory, he was the child of Professor X and a lady called Gabrielle Haller. Now, Charles Xavier was working in an Israeli, I can't remember what it was, some sort of mental hospital, mental facility, where he was using his power to help the people in the hospital. And Gabrielle Haller was one of them. And he and she had an affair. She got pregnant with David, Legion, but didn't tell Xavier about it. and they parted ways, and Xavier left. Now, what happened then was, when he was young, David Haller, Legion, was involved in a terrorist attack, and he was the only survivor. And the traumatic experience of being in that made his mutant ability manifest, and he killed all the terrorists. Now, while doing that, he took in the persona of the terrorist leader and went into a catatonic state. Now, after that, he was taken to Muir Island, where he was put into the care of Moira McTaggart, who was a good friend of Professor Xavier, and you've seen her in the X-Men, the recent X-Men films, Moira McTaggart. She was the one who let Apocalypse revive by leaving the carpet off that hole. You remember? Yeah. Anyway, so he was left in Moira's care, but the trauma had caused him to become schizophrenic. His powers have manifested, but each of his powers had taken on a different personality. So, for example, his telepathy, his telekinesis, his pyrokinesis, every one of them had a different personality. So, what they've got in this show, obviously in this show, David Haller's in his 20s, he's in a mental hospital when it kicks off, he's on drugs, they don't know how to deal with him, how to heal him. He's got a sister who comes to visit. From what I've read, they plan to introduce Charles Xavier down the line, but they're not going to have him played by either James McAvoy or Patrick Stewart. And the reason I've read that this is because they're simply too expensive. What the creator of the show has said is that he'd love to have them both, but he just can't afford to pay movie actor money for a TV show guest spot. So we're probably going to see the third recasting of Charles Xavier for this TV show. So that could be a bit annoying, especially if they're going to try and connect it to the ongoing films, which is what they said they're going to do. So, at the moment, I'm not sold on Legion. I don't know whether I'm going to be able to continue watching it. I mean, the effects were great. The acting was okay. It was good. I mean, it's tough to judge someone's acting ability when they're playing such outlandish characters. So, I'm not entirely sure. And also, because he's schizophrenic and because we don't know what's reality and what is fantasy and only happening in his head, it makes it very hard for you to know which of these characters are real and which ones are fake and imaginary. Now, I've had shows in the past where you've had a character with a similar sort of problem, trying to make out what's real and what's reality, but it's not normally a main character that's going to be an ongoing problem, where you're probably going to go through half of the series and you don't know what's real and what he's imagining. So it's going to be very hard for audiences to latch onto and stick with. Or at least I think so. As I say, I'm in the minority. The critics love it. Perhaps I'm wrong. Everybody else is right. It won't be the first time. But there you go. So Legion on FX, pilot episode. I'd give it 4 or 5 out of 10. It didn't grab me purely because, as I say, it was hard for me to get into. Whether it will grow me, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But that's my review of the pilot. Non-spoiler, obviously. So leave me your reviews. Let me know what you thought of it. I'd love to hear if I am in the minority or if there's others out there who felt the same as me. But we'll see as it goes on. You guys take care, and I'll see you next time.